The air was thick with tension as the crowd gathered, their eyes locked on the center of the arena. This wasn't just any fight. It was a fight between two worlds, two forces unlike anything anyone had ever seen. On one side stood the alien champion, a towering figure from another galaxy. His body was covered in gleaming armor, and his eyes glowed with an eerie, powerful light. He was known across the stars as an unbeatable warrior, a living legend. No one, not even the most skilled fighters, had ever dared challenge him. On the other side was the Deathworlder girl. She was small compared to the alien champion, and many in the crowd doubted she even had the strength to stand a chance. The Deathworlders were fierce, known for their brutal survival instincts, but they were not a match for the aliens' advanced technology and superior strength. Most people in the crowd were already certain it would be over before it even started. The girl stood with her fists clenched, her face determined. She didn't look scared. If anything, she looked calm. Too calm. She knew the odds. She knew she shouldn't have a chance against him. But there was something about her that made the crowd pause. The alien champion wasn't just a fighter. He was a symbol of fear. Yet here she was, standing in front of him, ready to face him, head on. The announcer's voice echoed across the arena, but no one really heard it. All eyes were on the two combatants. The alien champion raised his hand, signaling that he was ready. His muscles rippled beneath his armor, and the ground seemed to shake as he took a step forward. The girl stood still, unbothered by the sheer size of him. Suddenly, with a shocking burst of speed, the Deathworlder girl stepped forward and slapped the alien champion across the face. The sound of the slap rang out, louder than anything the crowd had ever heard. The arena went silent. No one knew what to say. Everyone had been expecting a brutal fight, but this was something completely different. The alien champion stood frozen for a moment, his head turning slightly from the force of the slap. His eyes, glowing with anger, looked down at the girl. No one had ever dared to touch him, let alone slap him. He clenched his fists, and for a brief second the crowd held their breath. The alien's rage was palpable, but there was something else too, something that wasn't anger, but curiosity. The girl didn't flinch. She simply stood there, staring at him, waiting. Her face was expressionless, as if the slap hadn't even mattered. The alien champion's lips curled into a slight smile. It was clear now. This wasn't just a fight for power. This was a challenge, one that would change everything. But how far would the girl go? Was she ready for what was coming? The tension in the arena grew thick as the crowd waited, wondering if the girl would regret what she'd just done. But the alien champion didn't move. He simply watched her, his gaze unreadable. The challenge had begun. The alien's fury. The silence in the arena was deafening. The slap had echoed through the vast space, and now everyone was waiting for the inevitable. The alien champion stood completely still, his eyes locked onto the girl with a dangerous intensity. No one had ever slapped him before, especially not in front of an audience. It was as if time had stopped, and the entire universe was holding its breath. The girl didn't back down. She didn't even blink. The slap had been a challenge, yes, but it was also a statement. It was her way of saying, "I'm not afraid of you." She was unshaken, standing tall in the face of his towering presence, and that, more than anything, seemed to stir something inside the alien champion. With a low growl, he cracked his knuckles, his massive hand glowing as the energy surged through his body. The fight was about to begin. He moved with a speed that defied his size, like a storm crashing toward her. His first punch sliced through the air, aimed straight at her head. The crowd gasped. Surely she couldn't dodge that. But to everyone's surprise, she sidestepped with ease, barely moving. The punch missed by inches, and before the alien champion could pull back, she countered, throwing a quick strike to his side. The hit wasn't strong enough to cause any real damage, but it was enough to show him that she wasn't just a helpless challenger. The alien champion staggered back, more in shock than in pain. How was this possible? He'd faced hundreds of warriors from every corner of the galaxy, each one weaker than him. But this girl, she was different. For a moment the arena was silent again, as if the world itself was trying to understand what had just happened. The girl wasn't just avoiding his attacks, she was reading him, predicting his movements. Her eyes never left his, and for the first time in his life, the alien champion felt a twinge of doubt. This wasn't just about strength. The alien growled, now visibly irritated. "You think you can play with me?" His voice echoed like thunder, and his body pulsed with energy. He charged again, faster this time, his fists like sledgehammers aimed at her chest. But the girl was ready. She ducked under his first punch, rolled to the side, and then, in a flash, grabbed hold of his arm and twisted it behind his back. The crowd erupted. She was winning. No one had expected this, not even the alien himself. He grunted in pain, surprised at how strong she was, how quick. This was no random Deathworlder. There was something about her, a fire that burned brighter than any he had seen before. He had underestimated her, but the alien champion was not one to be outdone. He spun around with a savage roar, breaking free from her grip. His eyes, glowing with fury, locked onto hers once again. "You've made a mistake," he snarled, ready to unleash everything. The girl didn't say a word. She just stared at him with that same calm, unbothered expression. The tension between them crackled like electricity. The alien champion was furious, but he was also beginning to realize something else. He was being challenged in a way he never expected. It was no longer just about the fight. It was about respect. And as he raised his fists for the next attack, a thought crossed his mind. This girl wasn't just fighting for victory. She was fighting for something deeper. With the crowd on the edge of their seats, the battle continued, each move more intense than the last. Neither one was backing down. Not now. Not ever. The unseen power. The battle had shifted. The alien champion, once confident in his dominance, was now on the defensive. His eyes scanned the arena, searching for his opponent, but she had vanished, again, completely out of sight. Every time he thought he had a clear strike, the Deathworlder girl was already gone, slipping through his grasp like smoke. His body hummed with energy, the power of 1,000 battles coursing through him. Yet, it didn't seem to matter. She was outsmarting him. The alien champion's fist slammed into the ground once more, sending shockwaves through the earth. He stood tall, his mind racing. She's no ordinary fighter, he realized. She knows exactly how I think. She knows what I'm going to do before I do it. Then out of the corner of his eye he saw her, not from the shadows, not from a distance, but right in front of him. In a single moment she appeared out of nowhere, her body moving like liquid, her movements impossible to track. The champion didn't even have time to react. She grabbed his arm, twisting it with a force he couldn't have anticipated. Her grip wasn't just strong, it was precise, deliberate. "Impossible," the alien champion muttered, struggling to break free, but the girl's hold was unyielding. How could someone so small overpower him? And then it hit him. She wasn't overpowering him at all. She wasn't using pure strength. She was using something far more dangerous. Tactics. As he struggled, she let him move just enough to think he was getting the upper hand. Then with a sudden twist, she forced him to the ground, pinning him there with surprising ease. His mind raced, trying to process what had just happened. This wasn't just a fight, it was a trap. With each movement, the Deathworlder girl revealed a new layer of her abilities. She wasn't fighting blindly. She was studying him, learning him. Every time he attacked, she didn't just dodge, she calculated. Every strike he made was followed by an immediate counter, a perfect response that neutralized his advantage. "Why are you holding back?" she asked suddenly, her voice low but piercing. "Don't you want to win?" The alien champion's eyes widened. Was she mocking him? Before he could answer, the girl launched herself at him again, not with brute force but with precision. She moved like a shadow, almost invisible. But every step she took was a calculated move that put her closer to victory. As her hand darted toward his chest, it wasn't an attack. It was an evaluation, a test of his defenses. He felt the energy shift in the arena. She wasn't just trying to wear him down physically. She was trying to expose his weaknesses. She was playing a different game. The alien champion felt a surge of frustration. This wasn't a battle of strength anymore. It was a game of intellect. And for the first time, he wasn't sure who would win. She wasn't just fast or strong. She was clever, using his own power against him with terrifying precision. Every step, every move was designed to put him in a place he couldn't escape. How had she become so adept at this? A thought crossed his mind. Was she truly just a Deathworlder girl? Or was there something more? The arena was electric with the growing suspense. The fight was far from over, but the alien champion had realized something that sent a chill down his spine. He was fighting for more than just victory now. He was fighting to stay in control. The girl had done the impossible. She had turned his greatest weapon against him. And with every moment, she revealed that her true power wasn't her physical strength, but her ability to read and outthink her opponents. And in that moment, the alien champion knew this wasn't going to be an easy victory. In this version, I've highlighted the girl's intelligence and the psychological warfare she brings to the table. It's not just a physical battle anymore. It's about outsmarting the alien champion and using his own strengths against him. The suspense is high, and the alien champion is starting to realize that his opponent isn't just powerful. She's strategically brilliant. This keeps the audience on the edge of their seat, wondering how far she'll go to win. The apex throne. The alien champion's body pulsed with power, but his mind was clouded with doubt. He had underestimated the Deathworlder girl. He had thought her nothing more than a fleeting challenge, someone to crush in seconds. But now, with every move, she seemed to grow stronger, more confident. She wasn't just fighting him. She was testing him, probing for weaknesses. And then, as if to rub salt into the wound, she did something that stopped him in his tracks. She turned, slowly, and looked toward the distant throne. It wasn't just any throne. It was the apex throne, a symbol of absolute power, held by the alien champion himself for centuries. It had been forged in the heart of dying stars and was said to grant unmatched authority over all the galaxies. It was not only a seat of power, it was the heart of an empire. The throne represented everything. The girl didn't just look at it, she studied it, as if it were the only thing that mattered in this moment. Her gaze was sharp, focused, and filled with determination. She was going after it. She wasn't just here to fight him, she was here to take his throne. The alien champion's blood ran cold. For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty passed through him. Could she truly be after the apex throne? Was that her plan all along? His fists clenched. This battle, which he had seen as a simple test of strength, had become something far more dangerous. She wasn't here to play by his rules. She was rewriting the game. For a moment, the alien champion did nothing. He just stared at her, trying to understand. But the girl was already making her move. With swift, confident steps, she approached the throne, her eyes never leaving it, her expression unreadable. The audience's eyes followed her, a wave of murmurs sweeping across the arena. And then, before anyone could react, she did the unthinkable. She walked toward the throne, stepped up the stairs, and placed one hand on its cold surface. The crowd gasped. They had never seen anyone, even in the most intense of challenges, dare approach the throne. It wasn't just a seat. It was the ultimate symbol of supremacy. The alien champion had fought for this throne, bled for it, conquered planets for it. To see someone step toward it so casually was an affront to everything he had built. The alien champion's jaw tightened. He could feel the weight of the throne's power calling to him. But he couldn't just sit there. He had to protect what was his. His hand shot out and he launched himself at her, hoping to end this game before she could make her next move. She was too close. But she was faster. In a single motion, the girl spun around, sidestepping his attack with an almost playful ease. She didn't look scared. She looked certain. And as he stumbled forward off balance, she turned to face him, her eyes sharp and focused, a calm smile playing on her lips. "You think this throne is still yours?" Her voice rang out, quiet but full of undeniable strength. "I'm not here for power. I'm here to show you something." Before the alien champion could react, the girl moved again, stepping forward and touching the apex throne. A deep hum filled the air. The ground trembled. The throne itself seemed to react as if recognizing her presence. The energy in the arena shifted. There was something different about her, something beyond just the physical fight. The alien champion froze. For a second he wondered if he had misjudged her entirely. Was it possible she had been destined for this throne all along? Could she be the true ruler? Her hand remained on the throne and she closed her eyes as if waiting for something to happen. The energy crackled through the arena, as though the throne was alive. The crowd fell silent again, sensing that they were witnessing something that went beyond mere combat. Something ancient, something sacred. The alien champion stood a few feet away, heart pounding in his chest. He had never felt such a shift of power before. This was no longer just a fight between two individuals. It was a battle of fates. The girl, standing with her hand on the apex throne, looked over at him. There was no fear in her eyes, just the unyielding belief that she was where she was meant to be. The alien champion's mind raced, trying to process what was happening. This was more than a challenge for the throne. It was a test of destiny. And maybe, just maybe, he was never meant to be its ruler. In this version, I added a supernatural, almost mystical element to the throne, turning it into more than just a symbol of power. It becomes a living, breathing entity tied to destiny. This elevates the story, showing that the girl might not only be fighting for victory, but also for something much deeper and more significant than anyone could have expected. The tension continues to build as both characters grapple with the unknown forces at play, the moment of truth. The air was thick with tension. The crowd could barely breathe as they watched the girl standing before the apex throne. She was no longer just a challenger. She had become something more, something that couldn't be ignored. Every step she took was deliberate, every movement calculated, as if she knew the weight of the throne she was about to claim. The alien champion stood a few paces away, fists clenched at his sides. His mind raced. He could feel the pull of the throne. The power that had always been his, the power that had shaped him into the legend he was today. But now, standing before it, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was no longer in control. Her presence in front of the throne had shifted everything. He could feel his heart pounding, his breath quickening. The anger was still there, but now there was a seed of something else. A nagging question, a realization creeping in, something he couldn't ignore. Was he fighting to protect the throne, or fighting to protect his own pride? The girl turned to face him. She had been silent for a long time, her gaze fixed on the throne, her hand still resting lightly on its surface. Her eyes, once filled with nothing but defiance, now held something deeper. Clarity. "You think this is just about a throne," she said softly, her voice carrying across the arena like a challenge. "But it's not, is it?" The alien champion narrowed his eyes. The words stung more than he expected. How could she possibly know? What did she mean? He had fought for this throne, bled for it, conquered galaxies for it. It was about the throne. It had to be. But the girl wasn't looking at him with fear or even anger. She was looking at him like she saw something he couldn't see. Something buried deep within him. She stepped forward just a few feet away from him now, her movements slow, almost calm. "You've spent your life chasing power, haven't you?" she continued, her voice laced with a quiet understanding. "But power isn't what makes a ruler. It's choice. It's knowing when to step aside or when to let go. The words were like a slap, harder than any blow she could have landed. The alien champion felt a pang deep inside him, something he hadn't felt in years. Doubt. You think you can just take my throne? Because you think you deserve it more than me? He snarled, trying to bury the unsettling feelings rising within him. She smiled, but it wasn't a smile of mockery. It was a smile of understanding, as if she had already won without lifting a finger. I don't want your throne, she said, stepping closer now, her eyes never leaving his. I want your truth. He took a step back, startled. The throne, the power, it all seemed to lose its significance for a moment. All he had worked for, all he had sacrificed, seemed to crumble in the face of her words. You're afraid, aren't you? She said, almost as if she had been reading his mind. Afraid that letting go of the throne means losing yourself. But that's the lie you've been living. It was never about the throne, was it? It was about holding on to something that made you feel alive, made you feel important. He wanted to shout, to deny it, to strike her down with all the power he possessed. But her words were like daggers, sharp and precise, cutting through the armor he had built around himself. He had been so focused on maintaining control, on ruling with force and fear, that he had never stopped to ask himself what it meant to truly rule. Was it about domination? Or was it about understanding? Leading not through fear but through connection. The alien champion stood frozen, the weight of her words pressing down on him. He had spent his life conquering, commanding, and demanding obedience. But now, in the presence of this girl, this unexpected ruler, he was forced to confront the truth he had been running from. He had never asked himself the right questions. What did it mean to lead? What did it mean to truly be a champion? The girl's expression softened, almost as if she could feel the shift in him. She didn't move. She didn't have to. He could feel it now, the burden of all his choices weighing him down, suffocating him. I don't need this throne, she whispered, but you do, and that's why you'll never be free. The alien champion closed his eyes. The truth had been laid bare in front of him, and for the first time he saw the full picture. The throne wasn't just about power. It was about control, about the illusion of holding everything in place. But he had been living that lie for too long. The girl had beaten him, not with strength or speed, but with the one thing he had never known how to fight: the truth. The throne seized. The tension in the arena was unbearable. The alien champion, usually so unstoppable, was now standing at the edge of his own existence. His mind a whirlwind of doubt, confusion, and anger. The girl had shattered the illusion of control he had fought so hard to maintain. Her words, her movements, they had exposed him for who he truly was, and now he was paralyzed by the weight of his own realization. But she wasn't done. She wasn't even finished with him. The girl stood near the apex throne, her fingers grazing the cold metal surface as if the throne were calling to her, responding to her. It wasn't just the throne she sought now. It was the future, and the world she would shape with it. But the alien champion could feel something else rising in him, a deep, gnawing desire to prove himself, to show that he still had the power to rule, to control. Without warning, he lunged. His speed, once unmatched, was still ferocious, but it felt different now. He wasn't fighting for survival or victory anymore. This wasn't about strength. It was about keeping the illusion intact, but the girl was ready. As he surged forward, she turned with startling speed. Her movements were like water, fluid and unpredictable. She dodged his strike effortlessly, not even needing to engage him physically. Her eyes locked onto his, piercing his pride. You're still not listening, she said, her voice calm but filled with a quiet power that seemed to shift the very air around them. Before he could react, she made her move. She reached for the apex throne, and as her fingers touched the seat, a deep hum reverberated through the arena. The energy that surged through the throne was undeniable. It was as if it recognized her, understood her purpose, and in that instant, the throne bowed to her. The alien champion froze. It was happening. She was taking it. In a single, smooth motion, she ascended the throne. The crowd gasped as her figure seemed to almost glow, bathed in the radiant energy of the apex throne, a silent declaration that the power of the galaxy had shifted in that very moment. But something was different now. It wasn't just her physical presence that claimed the throne. It was the truth she had uncovered. The throne wasn't just a seat of power. It was a reflection of the ruler's spirit, their will, and their choices, and the girl's choices had led her here, to the truth of who she was meant to be. The alien champion stood motionless, his gaze fixed on her, feeling the last remnants of his control slip away. For the first time, he wasn't standing above her. He was beneath her, overpowered by not her strength but her insight. His eyes flickered between the girl on the throne and the seat that had once been his own. He could feel it, the pull of his old identity, the weight of his past decisions and the loss of everything he had believed in. Was he truly defeated? Or had he simply misunderstood everything? The girl sat silently, her eyes closing for a moment as if accepting the weight of her new responsibility. When she spoke, her voice resonated through the arena, carrying more power than any physical blow could have. "You wanted this throne so badly," she said softly, "but it was never yours to keep. Power like this doesn't come from fear or force. It comes from understanding, from knowing when to fight and when to let go." Her words hit him like a hammer. It wasn't just the throne that had been claimed, it was the future he had built on oppression and dominance, the future she had built on wisdom and choice. The alien champion, now kneeling, felt the weight of his own history pressed down on him. The battle was over, but not in the way he had imagined. She had won, but not through brute strength, not through fear. She had won by making him question the very foundation of his empire. As the girl took her seat upon the apex throne, she did not act as a conqueror. She acted as a healer, understanding that the power she now held was not a weapon, but a responsibility. And in that moment, the alien champion knew he could no longer hold on to the throne. He had been living a lie, and the truth had set her free. The arena was silent as the girl became the true ruler, not because she had taken the throne, but because she had earned it. The future unfolds. The silence in the arena was deafening. The battle was over, yet the tension still hung in the air, thick and unrelenting. The alien champion, once the supreme ruler of galaxies, knelt on the ground before the girl who now sat upon the apex throne. Her figure was bathed in the throne's radiant light, but it wasn't just the glow of power that made her seem so different. It was the calm in her. The calm that spoke of a leader who had seen the darkness of the galaxy and understood that real power wasn't in domination, but in the ability to transform. The crowd, still reeling from the shock, began to stir. Their eyes were wide, their hearts racing. They had witnessed a battle unlike any other, a battle not just for control of the throne, but for control of an entire way of life. They had watched as the girl, the underdog, had overcome the most powerful warrior the universe had ever known. But as the girl sat there, her gaze distant, it was clear she wasn't celebrating her victory. She was thinking. Her thoughts were far beyond the clash of fists and steel. What now? She had done the impossible. She had seized the throne, not with bloodshed, but with truth. She had shown that true strength lay not in forcing others to submit, but in guiding them to understand their own potential. And yet, as she stared out at the crowd, a single question remained. Was she ready to lead? The alien champion, still kneeling, slowly raised his head. His eyes met hers, no longer filled with the arrogance and fury that had once defined him, but with a profound understanding. His empire, his reign, was over. But perhaps he realized it was time for something new to begin. Could he accept this change? Could he stand by her side? The girl glanced at him, sensing his struggle. There was no bitterness in her expression, only a quiet strength. "This throne isn't for ruling," she said, her voice carrying over the arena. "It's for understanding, for change." The alien champion's heart raced. He had always believed power was something to be fought for, something to be kept by force. But now, watching her, he realized that the greatest power wasn't in holding the throne. It was in the choice to release it. The girl turned her gaze to the crowd, her eyes scanning the faces of those who had watched her rise to this moment. She was their new ruler, but what kind of ruler would she be? Could she lead them into a new era, one of peace and understanding, or would the shadows of the past follow her every step? "Today we stand at the edge of something new," she said, her voice unwavering. "The galaxy has been torn apart by wars, by greed, by power struggles, but that ends now. I don't claim this throne for myself. I claim it for all of us." Her words echoed in the hearts of the people, reverberating through the very foundations of the arena. The alien champion, who had once been the symbol of fear and oppression, now saw a different path, a path toward rebuilding, toward healing what had been broken. The throne wasn't about dominance. It was about guiding others to a place where they could stand together as equals. As the girl rose from the throne, the energy in the arena shifted again, this time lighter, more hopeful. She extended her hand to the alien champion, offering him not just an alliance but a chance to walk away from the life he had built and embrace something new, something far beyond his old ambitions. The alien champion hesitated, his pride warring with the truth that had been revealed to him. But in that moment he understood. He had lived his entire existence fighting to stay on top, but he had never truly looked around to see who was beside him. And now, as the girl stood before him, offering not just her hand, but a future of change, he knew what he had to do. He took her hand, and for the first time in his life, he didn't fight to control it. He let go. Together they turned to the crowd. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The galaxy was no longer divided by old wars and old ways of thinking. There was a chance to build something better, a future where the power of the throne was not to rule but to guide. As the girl stood side by side with the alien champion, the light of the apex throne began to dim, not out of loss but out of balance. The power of the throne had always been one-sided. Now, in the hands of two leaders united in their shared goal of peace, it was the power of unity that shone through, and with that, the future unfolded, an unknown but hopeful horizon.